Welcome to Seeking the Sacred Self. I'm your host, Naomi Rozak. It's good to be here today. I wasn't able to publish for the last couple of weeks as I was wrapped up in ending the school year for my kids, and we transitioned to summer schedule, and I just did some resting. I really couldn't find space in my life or my body to come up with what I wanted to say next. So I appreciate your patience with the gap in recording. I've also emotionally been going through a change and feeling very grateful for it. So I thought I'd tell the story and share my takeaways. And maybe you can find more awareness and healing through this story too. So a couple of weeks ago, I was invited to attend a healing retreat with my longtime healing mentor and friend, Summer Bozahora. She has a group of women who are healing their symptoms and lives through her Soul Truth Academy, which, by the way, I will link in the comments if you want to check it out, and I highly recommend. But the retreat is included as part of their 12-month healing and soul alignment process. So I felt really honored to be invited to be a part of this, especially since the women didn't know me well. I had been introduced to them once, but also because Summer asked me to come and lead a journaling session for the people there. The weekend was quite a magical experience for me, and I want to share the story. It started with an opening circle where Summer read an excerpt from a book and did a little bit of talking. And I could see, because I know her well, that she was intuitively feeling forward how to bring the next piece in. And it had started to rain. We were inside a big tent, a big white tent erected in a field, and there was grass underneath our feet. But she had planned a walking meditation of sorts, and it started to rain just as we moved into this exercise. So she had to shift what she had intended to do. And so what she asked us to do as the opening circle ended was to get as close to the earth as possible, to feel it underfoot as we broke away from the circle, to just walk very slowly, and then to follow kind of the impulse of our body in how it wanted to get close to the earth, whether that meant getting on all fours or laying down on the grass, to allow ourselves to really sink into the earth, to get down close to it, to smell it with the dirt on our face or the grass and plants that were growing, to really be able to feel the earth and then to rest against it. And then she encouraged us to just sit there and feel the earth and see what we felt in our bodies. And then to notice, is the earth saying something back to us? And so I've been close to the earth before. I often sit on grass when I'm feeling a little turbulent or overloaded, or if I've been busy, I just go and sit on the grass. I listen to the sounds around me and I feel the earth underneath until I'm calm and balanced again and I feel a little bit recharged, you know? But this time, when I was laying against her, my chest against her and my head against her, and I could smell like some weed or herb that was growing smelled a little bit minty in the grass, and I could smell the freshness of it all. I noticed how solid the earth was. That's normal for me. But this time I felt something I've never felt before. It was as if the earth was a mother and I was the smallest child, and I had crawled up on her lap and laid myself all against her chest, and I could feel that nurturing sense, the mothering sense that was there. And I don't think it's anything I had imagined. This is just what I felt as I laid against her. And I could feel an energy connection between her and I, and it became a kind of communication. And what I felt her say to me without any judgment was, "You have not been trusting." And then I felt my attention drawn to my left shoulder, which I've been having some trouble with off and on for about a year. And I could see in my body that when I'm not trusting that something will work out, I hold my shoulder in tightly against my body and my arm. And the earth actually said to me, I could heal your shoulder. I know, it sounds weird, right? But in the energetic world, all kinds of pieces of knowledge can come to us in what we classify as weird ways, but which are actually just natural communication with what's inside us and what's around us. And right after she asked what the earth was saying to us, Summer asked the group, "What is the truth in your body? The thing that you feel, but you keep it hidden from everyone, the thing you don't tell, the thing you don't say aloud." And not from my thinking mind, but from my body, the truth my body has been living in, came the answer of, "I carry a lot of fear inside." And I took a breath and acknowledged that. And on its heels came, "I do my life, but I am often, almost always, afraid." This is the truth my body said to me. I want to qualify it a little bit. This fear inside is not fear or anxiety about my children or my home, although, of course, small anxieties happen in different moments. But this is the kind of fear where I wake up every day and it's there in the top of my chest. It's fear about my career, about this podcast, about doing and creating my future all by myself, trying to trust the voice inside of me with always the unknown ahead of me. What about the future? What will it turn out like? What steps do I need to take? What if it doesn't work? I'm trying to trust this voice that has guided me to do all of these things, and yet it's hard to trust when you can't see far down the road. And I don't have a pattern that I'm following. I'm not trying to look like somebody else. I'm trying to do this heartfelt thing in my own way from what my soul is sharing with me. And I feel a lot of fear as I do that. And so I felt ashamed with this truth, this fear, embarrassed a little, like, how could I have been living with this fear for so long and not dealt with it, especially with all the tools I have and the ability to heal myself? And how did I not recognize how very much it was affecting me? At the same time, I think that's not exactly a true perspective because I had felt the fear and I was addressing it every single day that I knew it was there, by acknowledging it in my journal, by sitting with my internal wisdom that would every single time reassure the fears, and then I would feel calm for the rest of the day. And when there was a fear that had more like charge to it, and I knew there was a root to it, I would go into a healing session by myself. And the one time it was too big and scary and vague and unknown to work with on my own, I called Summer to have her help with it. And you can hear about the results of that session in the episode, Are We Good or Bad? Which I will link in the comments as well. So I had been paying attention to the fear. I had been acknowledging it, yet it was still there. And the truth of my body was wanting me to see that actually this is really affecting us, just more than we knew, right? Summer had us come back to the circle in the tent there and see if anyone wanted to share their truths aloud. I really didn't. I was feeling shame and a little bit of shock, I think, about what my body had shown me. But another woman went first, and what she shared, her truth, was almost word for word exactly what mine was, which helped me feel way less ashamed and as if, we all have these things in common, right? I felt like we could relate to each other and somebody else was living the same experience as me. But then Summer asked us to allow ourselves to listen to our bodies and the earth again. And she asked, "For whatever your truth was, what would it take to live with that truth? To be able to work with it, to navigate it, to trust it, or accept it? To live that truth with more courage or more buoyancy, or to be able to live the opposite of that truth, if that's what you desire?" And I think this is where I've been going a bit off track in dealing with my truth because I've been trying to use my tools to shift the fear Yes, to recognize it and feel it, but to let it naturally shift, which is what I know is the natural path for emotions. I've been trying to wrestle my way out of the fear by addressing it over and over again. But I have to wonder if maybe this fear was less an emotion and more a pattern in my body, something that has lived there a long time. Maybe this fear doesn't shift in a day. Clearly, it doesn't shift in a day. And I sat puzzled for a minute after she asked that question because how could I work with this truth of this fear? I was already doing everything I knew how to do. But I went back and let myself listen to my body, not with my thinking mind, and wisdom, as it often does, had more answers. The first knowledge that came to me was that I need to say the fear out loud, to acknowledge it, to let it out of my body. Writing it out isn't enough. I need to be able to look in the mirror, look myself in the eyes, and say, I am afraid, and own it. And notice that the truth isn't as scary when it's said aloud as it is when it's only felt inside. Fear is, after all, only a feeling. It's when we fear the fear and we treat it as bad, we avoid it and we push it down. Then it tries to grab us by the throat. I think maybe that fear needs to be heard and it will grow until we can really do that. The second wisdom that came to me was notice that the fear is not the boogeyman. Having fear doesn't change who I am or what I do or how I act. I will continue to put one foot in front of the other in the path of my soul's purpose, no matter how much fear I feel. And the third piece of wisdom was that I can draw strength from the earth and that I can feel the connection to it and let that calm, solid, energetic connection create a new pathway to replace where my body has been trained into patterns of fear running through me. So, the story I want to tell today, beyond this story of the truth that I found out, is what happened through the rest of the weekend. And to do that, I just want to share what the retreat was about. We were staying on a parcel of land that is being sustainably tended by a family to offer a healing sanctuary for people. There are trees all around, acres of land to wander through. So we walked around barefoot and we sat on the grass inside our meeting tent. We created soul images through art, which would be the same kind of metaphorical images that people experience inside themselves in healing journeys, images that carry deep meaning and wisdom. We ate organic, vegan food and cried and laughed and did mindful, symbolic yoga poses before breakfast with the rising sun and did playful, gentle exercises for our eyes as we were doing the yoga. The whole weekend was a reset for the nervous system and a chance to check out of the systems and patterns and behaviors and stresses of the regular world, the job and the family dynamics and all of that, and come back to ourselves as a being in the present moment. I had also come into the weekend with a bit of nervousness, more of that fear, you see, because Summer had asked me to lead a journaling session for the women there. I have taught journaling workshops before about using journaling to feel more at home in your body and navigate what's happening inside. But I haven't taught them in the sense of leading a group of people to take realizations they're already having and write them down. And I had spent a week in preparation, but only felt a few pieces of what I was supposed to say, which is not normal for me. And I couldn't seem to put them in some kind of order on the paper. I also knew that I wanted to share little pieces of my story as I led this session, and I couldn't seem to figure out what pieces to tell and in what way to tell them either. Summer and I had connected before the retreat, and I shared this with her, and she said, it's not about having it figured out ahead of time. It will be intuitively feeling how the weekend is going and meeting the women, and you'll get a better idea of what to do when you're there. So I believe that. I trust that. And I was mostly trusting that things would turn out, with also still that little bit of fear of being seen, fear of not knowing what's going to happen, kind of a fear of not knowing if what I trust and believe in about life and my purpose and my connection and all those things was going to show up and support me at the right time. But something interesting began to happen as we moved through the weekend, like an understanding after understanding layering into my body piece by piece. And I began to sense something new, something different. As we moved through the different exercises and I was sinking deeper and deeper into my calm self and this newer connection to the earth, there was this current of connection and power that was in that flow that I felt. I began to sense my soul and my connection to it in a way I haven't felt before, just stronger, purer, brighter, how it is filled with the brightest light and power. And I've known for some time that a large part of my purpose is to speak a message of emotional and spiritual freedom to people, to let them know that they have the right to walk the path that feels right to them, the right to desire healing and fulfillment and to pursue it, the right of all of us to be different from the people around us if that's where we're being pulled, and to share with people that they are beings with a sacred essence inside that should be treated with respect and reverence, because that essence will guide them into everything they're looking for. It is a part of them. It has always been speaking to them, and it is their own sacred guiding self. And I could feel the power of this purpose and my calling to share this message like a channel of power flowing through me. And I noticed that although the fear was there, still in my body, where I've often and always felt it, the path that has been carved there for 40 years, the power was also there, just to the left of the fear. And the power was stronger. It was a current, a channel, something that was flowing through me in a way that didn't do away with the fear, but minimized it. And what I was guided to understand through the weekend was that I can allow both of these to exist. The fear can be there, but also I get to notice the power source that I can tap into when I am connected to myself, my sacred essence, and my calling, and the universe all around me. And it's as easy as noticing the channel of power and making a quick choice to step into that stream of consciousness rather than the fear stream of consciousness. If I've allowed fear to be this big for this long, why not allow the power to be this big too? And slowly, the fear, even of leading a session that weekend, was fading out of me. I was supposed to lead the session Saturday night, and so when in the afternoon we had some time to wander in the woods, I took the opportunity to pull out a few notes from my backpack and review them while I laid kind of in the flowers under some trees. And there I could feel I was still tapped into that power stream, and I could feel what was appropriate to say and not say. I crossed a few things out on the sheets. I moved a couple things around, and I could feel how the story needed to come out of me. But then that evening, it seemed that we were all pretty tired and maybe needed some time to relax around the fire or go to bed early or whatever. And so Summer suggested we do it the following day instead. And so my session to lead ended up being the last piece of the retreat before our closing circle. And when it came time to do it, I simply stood up from my spot with the women and walked to the center of the circle and took a solid stance, my feet in mountain pose. And I felt solid, myself, not afraid. And I began to speak not from the side of me that second guesses and doubts and isn't sure if I have what it takes or doesn't know what will happen next, I began to speak instead from that channel of power and light inside. And it was as if every time I finished a sentence or a group of sentences, I could both see an image in my mind and sense what the next words were at the same time. I didn't take my notes with me. I didn't use my mind to plan. This was speaking from the channel of power and light of my soul. I just trusted and opened my mouth, and the words came. I know that as I spoke, a few pieces of what had come to me earlier that week were included, but in a natural way, a natural flow, as if they were meant to come out in a certain way that I couldn't possibly plan. And it was interspersed with other pieces that came to me in that moment. And it was such a blessing to me to be able to stand in front of people in person, as all of the teaching and speaking I've done has always been online, and to be able to follow the intuition of my soul and feel that power coming through me, and then have the opportunity for the women to speak back to me just one-on-one, what it had meant to them and what it had helped them with, and how, as I spoke, they individually found a freedom to respond to what was already in them and to journal in a way that worked for them, or to not journal because of the freedom in the message that I spoke. Because when you speak or act or move in the power and light of your sacred essence inside, it's never just for you. It's for all. And then people respond by giving back of their own light and essence. And we all feel the power, the charge of it, the gift of it. And we all walk forward uplifted. Normally, when I prepare a podcast episode, my process is to sit with my journal as I'm sipping my coffee and kind of waking up to the day. And I often journal about the fear that's there. And today, on this beautiful, sunny, and hot Monday morning, I didn't need to journal. I went straight into writing because it's like the fear just, if it's even there, I'm not noticing it. It doesn't matter. I'm so excited with this realization that I have a power inside, that I have a channel of speaking that I can tap into, that I didn't need that first step of journaling about it. I could go straight into writing and preparing. And my shoulder, even the one that the earth spoke to me about, the one that was frozen in mistrust, has been moving more freely. I've been spending more time with the earth and the sunshine, barefoot as I water my flowers and weed gardens. Maybe there will be fear tomorrow. And if I go to my journal to hear wisdom and reassurance, I will also remember to speak the fear aloud. And that fear is not the enemy or the boogeyman. And I will remember to find where the power is in my body and let it speak to me and move me and remind me of who I am and what I already have. And with power like that inside, fear just doesn't matter anymore. It's so little compared to the power. Why did I tell this story today? I tell this story because it's life. I tell it because when we share stories of where we are right now, the things we feel right now, what we're struggling with, and the wisdom that we're receiving, we feel heard and seen. Others feel less alone. And we all receive permission to be ourselves. Not only that, when we tell stories to each other, stories are gentle. They're non-invasive. They're not advice. They're not force. They're not fixing. They're not judgment. It's simply sharing an experience. And when we share an experience in the form of telling a story, the listener is free to take from it what they wish, whatever works for them, and they can leave whatever doesn't, because maybe it's just the enjoyment of listening to a story. But maybe something in them senses something about the story that is meant for them, and they can take that with them too. I tell this story because we all have a truth inside us, an experience in our body, and so many possibilities and potential that exists beside and beyond that truth. I tell it because I know from 6 years of authentically healing and transforming my own inner difficulties and sitting with others as they transform through theirs, that we each have a sacred essence within us, one full of such power and light that it would blow your mind. And how you encounter it, how you work with it, what you call it, and how you live out of it is your sacred journey that belongs to you alone. It is your journey to undertake, to know what supports and helps to bring in as needed, and to also find that so much of this life work is you coming back into contact with your own power and your ability to heal and shift your life until it feels right from deep within you, from your sacred knowing and your sacred feeling. So today I want to ask you what Summer asked our group of healing women. What is the one truth you carry inside? The thing that you hide from others or are afraid to say out loud. Don't look for this truth from your thinking mind. Ask it to your body and let your body come up with the response. And whatever it is, even if it's silence, allow that truth to sit there. Silence simply means not now. Keep going. But if there is a truth there, what would it feel like to honor that truth? To face it, accept it, allow it to be there, and without trying to get away from it or treat it as bad or shameful. What would it feel like to let in some light around that truth? Some openness? What would it feel like to face that truth with courage, with your heart? And what would your life be like if you didn't carry that truth like a weight, but as something that is teaching you about yourself, about how you could heal, something that could shift, something that carries the potential of more knowledge and more experience and more possibility within? If I didn't have the fear, I wouldn't have looked for the power. If I didn't have the fear, I wouldn't have done the growing and healing that I have over the last few months of podcasting. If I didn't have the fear, I wouldn't have this story to share, so that as you listen to my story, maybe you can feel more normal, more seen, less alone in whatever your truth is, and however much it has paralyzed you, less shame around it. Know that whatever your truth is, there also exists another truth, another access point, another resource, another path or way to walk that doesn't feel as difficult, as cumbersome, as hard, or hidden. There exists a path of light for you. So maybe take a moment to sit with yourself, even as I'm speaking, even if you're driving or walking or whatever. Tune away from the outside world into your mind, and then away from your mind and down into your body, and feel into what I'm saying. Feel where your truth is, the thing that is feeling hard or heavy or shameful. Where in your body is it? Feel the size and shape and color and weight of the truth. Feel the sensation of it in your body. And now, take a moment. What do you see or feel around that truth? Anywhere else in your body? Is there anything else you notice? Is there some hope, some light? Do you see or feel a picture of someone you know? Something you could do or read? Something that will balance out the heaviness of this truth. Even if you don't yet know or believe that you have wisdom inside, ask your body itself, how could I live with this truth? What would help me live this truth with more buoyancy? Or find a newer, more solid truth to help me through it? Feel further down from your body to the earth that is beneath you. Feel the connection, the presence of the earth, how she sits so solidly beneath your feet, calmness personified. What is the prompt she is giving you? What is she signaling? Some way that you could find a little bit more wholeness or strength around your truth. And let that truth exist. Many things can be true at once, and we integrate health and life and vitality when we move into acceptance of all the things that are true, instead of narrowly focusing on one and bringing our stress around the one truth. If this episode has brought up some feelings for you that don't feel resolved, or you want to further work with your truth and the other things that could be possible for you, I'm extending an offer of a $25 Explore session with me. These can be online or in person in Edmonton, Alberta, and they include some time to talk about what this episode is bringing up for you or the feelings you're having, with some light education to help your mind know what to expect as we go into the inner journey, plus that inner navigation experience to work with the feelings and knowings and inner healing symbols that will come to you. I'll link this offer in the episode notes. And if you feel comfortable sharing, put in the comments what truth has been coming up for you, or send me a DM on Instagram at Sacred Self Guide. I'd be so honored to hear about your experience and hold that space. And as always, your presence is a gift. Thank you for listening to this episode, and I'll see you next time when we go a little deeper again.